Today we are going to do a couple of different things. You guys know that for the very first 5 minutes or so, if y'all need to check out a new book, renew a book. Remember, if you've gone over 2 weeks, you're definitely going to want to renew your book, so I know that it's alive and well. But if you need to renew one, make sure you do so. Check out a new book. In that 5 minutes, if you need to work on your book project for Miss Kelly's class, I know you guys have that coming up, and I think y'all got it yesterday to actually work on. Y'all are able to work on that. But first 5 minutes then we're going to come back together, and I'm excited. I love doing this with you guys. We're going to do our first chapter of the year. I know we did it last year with you guys, but this year we're going to do our first chapter, and I incorporated an activity that will help you guys connect with the characters better by putting you in the exact same setting as those characters. So 5 minutes. Do y'all mind hitting that timer for me? 5 minutes to get started. We may cut it off just a little bit early, so kind of work a little bit quicker today so we have enough time to do our activity before lunch comes. So 5 minutes. Go check out the books. Go renew what you guys need to. Work on your book project. While y'all are working on that too, before I forget, don't forget that you guys have your raffle tickets. We pulled our 3 winners on Friday. Out of the raffles, there were 65 different tickets in here, which was awesome. I did not expect that much, so good work on that. Keep reading. We'll pull another 3 when we get back from our fair day, the second week of October. That'll be the next 6 weeks. We had some really good prizes. So I want to be able to call, last time it was all 7th graders randomly. So I want to be able to call some 8th graders.
Miss Kelly didn't give any tickets.
Oh, Mr. Kager's class also afterwards, I counted up how many raffle tickets were in here. And Mr. Kager's class had a student who had the most raffle tickets, so they got 2 extra points added onto their chart for the ice cream party at the end of the 9 weeks. So just pre-warning. Keep reading. Miss Swanson has them. Tons of teachers have them for 8th grade. They just got to catch you reading when it's not required instead of being on that Chromebook. You guys have about 3 minutes or so. I know some of y'all may not need to check out a new book because you're still reading it for your book project.
Anybody need to review the book?
It'll be the first time ever that y'all haven't do that.
No.
It'll be the first time ever that y'all don't have to check anybody out.
I just renewed my own books. I don't have to, but I did, so I have more time.
I appreciate that. That helps me keep a little bit more accountability for the books. Let's see, make sure. You guys have about, I'm going to give you guys about 2 more minutes. It looks like most of you guys are pretty much ready to go.
For that part of the book, I put
Are y'all having a good Tuesday so far?
No,
Yeah.
it's been great.
It's great, actually.
I feel like that's like an exaggeration.
No, I'm serious.
Yay!
Riley's serious.
I heard athletics was really good today.
It was.
I heard it was fun. I never hear that.
Yeah, I think it's fun.
That athletics is fun.
We won.
We had volleyball today. No, we had weight room today. Absolutely
Shut
not.
up. It was fun. We got to do Halings again.
I don't like
Is that-
hanklings. I wanted it to be
What is a
automatic.
hankling?
It's where you do this. So you you have the bar and then you go and then you. And then
I would throw out my bag. I threw out my bag just grabbing an orange out of the fridge. That would not be a good thing for me.
I hate legs.
Don't slip, don't trip, don't fall.
Okay, we have about 1 minute left. I want to get us started, so if y'all don't mind going back to your table, if you're checking out a book, go check out a book real quick. Go back to a table. Try to keep it about 3 to 4 people per table. I know this is a smaller class, but 3 to 4 people per table. We are going to do a first chapter, so while we're having our y'all checking out your books, our first chapter is something that I'm really excited about. I know I did it with you guys last year, but this year, like I said, is a little bit different. We're going to do an activity to go with it. I really want you guys to be able to connect with some more books. So, with that being said, this book is a little bit different. Last year I read Hatchet and I read Touching Spirit Bear, and this is very similar to it, but it's a different one. I know y'all have book projects and sometimes reading gets a little bit overwhelming. This one's short, and it's a quick and easy read. However, it does have a lot of adventure, a lot of action. How many of you guys have ever seen the TV show Survivor? Only one? Okay, 3 people? 3 people?
Yeah.
4 people? Oh my gosh, finally. Last class, nobody has seen Survivor before.
Do you want us to stay with you? We're going to go grab you coffee paper real fast.
I don't need any coffee paper, we're good. Yeah, you're good. So Survivor, it was a popular TV show back in the early 2000s. It was a reality show, and what they did is they placed people on the island, and they had to do all kinds of challenges learning how to survive out there. Jeff Probst was actually the host of Survivor, and he's the one who wrote this book. And so we are going to read the first chapter of this one. It's really short. You may not like it. If you don't like it, it does not hurt my feelings. There are 600 of y'all in the school, so that means 600 personalities, 600 different experiences. And so sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work, and that's okay. My job is just to connect with at least one person each and every day when we do these book readings. Once we get to October, we're going to do a lot more spookier stories. The next one we're going to do also is going to be about it's kind of supernaturally, but it deals with communication. Today, our topic is going to be over choices, because in middle school, we have to make a lot of choices. And sometimes those choices don't necessarily go the way we plan. So that's what our focus is going to be on today. Okay, before we start though, I do want to show you guys a quick book trailer of this book. I like to give you guys a visual. I'm not going to lie though, the book trailer is a little bit sillier than some of my other ones, but there was slim pickings for this one. So I'm going to play this for you guys real quick, and then we'll read our first chapter. A little bit. It's right there. But that won't be taught for lunch. Okay, here we go. Hopefully it will work. Wi-Fi has not been nice today. Oh, watch me jinx it. Knock on wood. Okay.
Who doesn't like a family vacation? Cool, fun, exciting. And sailing in the South Pacific? Sounds great, right? Well, for 4 kids who have nothing much in common except that their parents fell in love, forcing them to become a new family, this sailing vacation was a chance to learn about each other in extremely close quarters. Instead, they discovered that a massive storm has left them shipwrecked with no adults, no instruction, no one on this forsaken island. Now they have to learn to work together if they want to survive. That is, if they can survive each other.
Okay, so it's kind of like, you guys haven't read it yet probably, but Lord of the Flies, where they get stranded on an island without any adults. That one gets a little bit more gruesome. You'll probably read that sophomore year. It will be coming to you sophomore year, hopefully. That's kind of like a milestone book, like we talked about with Hatchet. But this one's very similar. You are stranded on the island. The adults went overboard, and so now they're stuck, just the 4 of them. They don't get along, and so we got to figure out how they're going to survive. I'm going to read the first chapter to you guys. It's a short chapter this go around, and then we'll do an activity to go with it. Okay. I don't know, is there enough doodling paper out there?
What do we do with it?
If you would like to doodle, these are extra copies. You can use the back side. If you would like to doodle while I'm reading, you guys are more than welcome to. Doodling actually helps you focus and concentrate, but it also connects your hemispheres within your brain, and so it's very helpful. So let me turn the light back on though for you guys so y'all can see better. Okay. There are markers out there too if y'all need them. These are just extra copies, so if you want to draw on them, you can. We will also use the doodling paper in a moment to be able to keep some score for our activity. Okay, here we go. I hope y'all like it, but again, if not, that is totally okay. We all have different interests, but hopefully this goes okay for y'all. Stranded 2. It's called Trial by Fire. It's a book, has 6 in the series. You do not have to read them in order whatsoever. But if you do like them and this book's checked out, there are more you can choose from. Remember your First Chapter Friday books. I will put the cover of the books on that back bulletin board to remind you. And then there's that funky looking bookshelf that I'll place all the books on. So if you ever want to check them out, you know where they're located 24/7. Okay, here we go. Chapter 1. Vanessa forced herself to take another step, then another and another. It was everything she could do to keep from dropping to her knees in the mud and giving up. But that was the last thing any of them could afford. It was the second huge storm in a week. The first had crashed their 50-foot sailboat, the Lucky Star, onto the rocky shore of this tiny island. Now another one had come along and dragged the boat, their only shelter, back out to sea. The 4 of them had been lucky to get off alive as they scrambled over the rocks onto the beach and up into the jungle. "Keep moving and stay together," she shouted to the others. Her voice was already hoarse, trying to be heard over the wind and thunder and crashing waves. She held her flashlight out in front of her, but it was so hard to see. The rain poured down in sheets, even under the jungle's thick canopy of trees. They moved in a tight clump, holding on to one another and to the few things they managed to take. Jane and Buzz stayed close on either side. Carter was right behind, pushing the group to go faster. Behind them, Vanessa could hear the tide pounding the shores, each wave a little higher than the one before it. If they didn't keep heading uphill, it was going to be one of them who got washed away next. "I think I dropped something," Jane called. "Leave it," Vanessa told her. "Don't stop." "But," I said, "leave it." She didn't like yelling at Jane, even now, but it couldn't be helped. The only thing that mattered was finding shelter, and that meant getting to the caves as fast as possible. The island was run through with them, like some kind of giant underground maze. The closest cavern opening they found was only a minute's walk up from the beach, but that was during the day and light. Now the cave seemed impossibly far off as they shuffled along, tripping over roots and rocks and squinting through the heaviest downpour Vanessa had ever seen. "Just keep moving," she shouted. "It's going to be okay. It's going to be..." The words caught in her throat with a sob. The truth was, Vanessa had no idea if it was going to be okay or not. How was a 13-year-old supposed to handle something like this? Still, Buzz and Carter were 11, and Jane was only 9. Without any parents or other adults around, it was up to her to keep the 3 younger ones safe for as long as possible. That much Vanessa knew. But knowing it and doing it were 2 very different things. Carter gritted his teeth. It wasn't as if Vanessa, Buzz, or Jane could see him in the dark, but he knew he had to stay strong. This wasn't a place where you could let your guard down, not even for a second. As they trudged uphill, he kept one hand on his little sister's shoulder and another on the pillowcase he used as a makeshift pack. It was heavy with the fire axe from the Lucky Star, along with some sea charts and whatever else he scooped off the galley table in the dark. There hadn't been time to pick and choose. They'd taken whatever they could before the boat was swept away. Everything else was lost. Meanwhile, the cold wind off the Pacific seemed to cut right through his soaking wet clothes. He couldn't stop shivering, and neither could Jane. If there was any good news, it was that the ground had started to level off underfoot. That meant they were getting close. Sure enough, with the next flash of lightning, Carter saw just ahead a familiar rock wall and the arched black opening of the cave itself. It was huge, maybe 2 stories high and wide enough for a truck to turn around inside. It wouldn't be any warmer in there, but at least it would be dry. "Straight ahead, did you see that?" he shouted. No one answered, but they all picked up their pace. The small beam of Vanessa's flashlight led the way across the last 20 yards of a flat, muddy ground. As they passed under the rock overhang and into the cave's entrance, Carter felt the rain lighten to a sprinkle and then to nothing at all. Finally, a break. Vanessa, Jane, and Buzz all sank to the ground, heaving for a breath in the dark. "Keep going," Carter said. The wind was still bad at the front of the cave. There was no sense in stopping now. Give us a second, Vanessa told him. It's just a little farther, Carter said. It's freezing right here. You guys, Jane said. It's freezing everywhere, Carter. Just calm down, Vanessa said. Even now, she had to be the boss. It was like she couldn't help it. You calm down, Carter snapped, just before Jane cut them both off. You guys, listen, she said louder than before. The urgency in her voice was unmistakable. What is it? Buzz asked. I think there's something in here, Jane said. That's it. End of chapter 1. So, you may or may not like it, and that's okay, but the reason why I wanted you guys to read this book is because there's choices in our lives. We have tons and tons of choices. Some of these choices are hard choices to make because you have a lot that you have to deal with. You have a lot that goes on in your life. And sometimes you don't expect everything that comes your way. So, when you're stuck in a situation, your choice on how you're going to deal with that issue or deal with that problem or deal with that situation, it matters, right? Especially you think about in middle school, how many choices y'all have to make each and every single day. And that choice affects the rest of your day. It affects that next assignment. It affects how that communication goes with that friend. It's important. So in this story, they had to really make some choices. And that choice definitely does make a difference in their life and death situation. So what we're going to be doing today is we are going to actually be part of a survival simulation. And you are going to be facing some choices just like these characters. And these choices are going to determine if your team is going to survive or not when it comes to surviving out in the wild. So we have just enough time before lunch. We are going to start our simulation. And then when y'all come back, we're going to continue our simulation as well. I'm going to kind of give you guys the storyline first. So if y'all don't mind, can y'all sit on top of your desk for me? You can leave your doodling there, but if you can sit on top of your desk. I know it's kind of weird for a teacher to ask you to sit on top of your table. It's kind of awkward, I know. And then girls, we actually are going to do it a little bit earlier. Here's the storyline. Okay, so I know you're on top of your desk and or your table, and that's kind of awkward, but I wanted to put you guys in I wanted to give you guys to kind of feel out what the actual setting would be like. If you guys notice up here, this is a purple and yellow 12-seat jet plane. This is your transportation. This is what you are in, okay? So, in the book, they were on a sailboat. Here, you're not on a sailboat. You are on a jet plane, but you're going to be in a very similar situation in a moment. But I have to be able to read out your situation so that you guys know how to handle or how to make some of those choices you're going to have to make in your team in just a moment. Your choice isn't going to just affect you. It's going to affect your entire team, okay? So, here we go. You and your friends have just chartered a private jet to South America. You'll be flying over 1 billion acres of the Amazon, the richest and most biodiverse rainforest on Earth. You've just flown over Colombia and parts of Venezuela as your small 12-seat jet embarks on its journey over the rainforest. Up until now, you've enjoyed smooth sailing as you look out the window and see the clouds beginning to gather. You look down at your phone and notice you've lost cell phone signal. The guide advises you that there isn't another cell phone tower for hundreds of miles. As the sky grows darker, the plane you're on begins to experience turbulence. Put on your seatbelt. Lightning strikes across the sky as the plane flies lower in an attempt to avoid turbulence. Suddenly, radio communication in the guidance system is lost, and the pilot decides to bank the plane to the right in an attempt to fly out the storm. It doesn't work, and the rain picks up. There is no end to the storms as the pilot attempts to find a place to land. The plane continues to fly low for what seems like forever and feels like hundreds of miles. Without radio communication and lost GPS signal, the pilot does the best job he can to try and find a clearing in the rainforest. Just as the pilot spies a clearing, crack! Lightning strikes the engine and the plane is going down fast. There's another streak of lightning and boom! Thunder and lights are out. You wake up to the sound of birds. They're very loud. You open your eyes to discover that you're the lone survivors of the crash. You have no idea where you are and nothing electrical works. Hint, hint. Unsure of your location, you take note of the wreckage and what you may need. After waiting 24 hours, you and your team decide to hike to go find civilization. However, the Amazon is home to snakes, poisonous frogs, and jaguars. There's large amounts of water, which also mean large amounts of insects. Okay? Texas, we have these things called mosquitoes, and we think they're bad here. Just imagine how bad they are in the Amazon. But it's also home to rich plants, including citrus fruits, peanuts, and coconuts. But you're still miles from civilization. You recall hearing when you're lost in the rainforest, you should always head downhill. Downhill means waterways. Waterways means civilization. Okay? So, you and your team have made the decision to leave the site of the wreck. You're going to need food, water, shelter, fire, and first aid. Okay? You and your team can only carry so much. After surveying the wreck, you're going to need 15 items, or you're going to find 15 items. You can only carry so much. It's a long trek. So your team is responsible to look at the 15 items and come to an agreement on which 3 items are going to be the best choice in order for your team to survive. You're going to have, after lunch, you're going to have 5 minutes to come up with your items. Then we're going to come back together and we are going to look at what 4 experts have said are the best items. They're going to judge your items from most important to least important. And we're going to see which team we can actually trust out in the wilderness and which team should probably just stay home. So, are we okay with that? Okay, sweet. We have about 1 minute before lunch, and then we will come right back, and then we will do our survival exercise. Where are we at? Let's see.